Hey guys, how's it going? We're gonna go ahead and get started with key features. Key features is something that you're gonna see throughout the whole semester, so it's never really gonna go away. Now, domain and range. I like to say that domain and range is probably the easiest, most complicated concept for students. It's really, really easy, but it's hard to understand in terms of the concept, and that's where a lot of people will be confused. So I'm going to try to explain it in the best possible way. So let's go ahead and get started with domain and range, and then we're going to go over some examples. So domain is the set of all possible input values for a relationship. And when I say a relationship, I'm talking about an equation. So for example, y equals 2x plus 1. Y and x are both related. Y is dependent of the domain, so that's a relationship. Range is the set of all possible output values for a relationship. So basically, again, domain is all the possible inputs. Range is all the possible outputs. So to try to explain that to you in a different way, so everybody knows what an XY plane is, right? So it's a two-dimensional plane, meaning that there's two dimensions. There's a dimension that goes from left to right, which is your X values, and there's a dimension that goes from bottom to top, which is your Y values. So another thing to note is that your X values and your Y values, they both have a positive and a negative side. So for the X values, the left side is your negative side, your right side is your positive side. For your Y values, the bottom one is your negative side, your top one is your positive, and they all go infinitely. So meaning they don't stop. They can go on forever and ever. So let's talk about domain. So when it comes to domain and range, I think of them as size. So for example, if I give you a rectangle or a square, right? How do you determine the dimensions of the square or the rectangle? Well, usually we say that this is your length and that this is your width. Oops. So think about domain as your length and think about range as your width. I want to know how big something is from left to right, and I want to know how big is something from bottom to top. So that's domain and range. So your domain is basically asking you how big is your function from the left and how big is your function from the right. Okay? And notice that I said left first. Your left always goes first. So how big is your function from the left and how big is your function from the right? Your range is your output, and it's gonna deal with your y-axis. So same thing. I want to know how big is your function from the bottom first, and then how big is your function from the top. And that's basically what domain and range is. Now in Algebra 2, you're going to see two notations. You're going to see set builder notation, which I'm just going to call set notation, and interval notation. So set builder notation uses a verbal description or a symbol. So less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, or in between those two. Interval notation represents a set of real numbers by the pair of values, that is your left or your minimum, your right or your maximum. So basically left to right, bottom to top. And what it means, a pair, I mean, like for example, my domain is from -2, 5. That's a pair. All right. So on the next video, I'm going to go over some examples. So make sure that you take notes. If I'm going too fast, you can watch it again. If you have any questions, let me know.